And we're live, guys, here on NerdtoKnowMedia, NerdtoKnowBasis number 81 on Phoenix 92.5 FM, and of course, streaming to you live every, what day is the day? Wednesday? Yes, every Wednesday.
Yeah.
And yes, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, guys, so we got a lot to get through this week. Well, we have like 3 Periscope listeners checking us out straight away. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Hey, boys.
Welcome from Periscope, whatever that is. I feel so.
Yeah, listen, if you guys are in the chat, leave an update so we can kind of respond. We are going to
do whatever, you know.
Yeah, we are going to spuriously debate and speculate on the PlayStation 5 because that's the biggest news right now.
I've got a live journal up checking, and they've already just dropped a bombshell I never, didn't see coming.
Yeah.
They've just gone and confirmed Final Fantasy 16.
Interesting.
Here was me just expecting a price point, and then they're chucking this out the gate. Excuse me if I interrupt with just loud noises.
So you're basically a roving reporter, is what we're saying.
Yeah, I'm on the field right now.
Kev is out there in the field and covering in the rain. Do not go outside.
No, we need a theoretical field on my phone.
Yeah,
on Sky News.
If we're gonna do this in proper. If we're going to do some proper RTE parody, I need you to be holding an ear and start everything by going, "Yes, Brian Ardara, this is what I'm hearing."
End every sentence with "Do not take unnecessary journeys."
Exactly.
So, guys, here's the question I have: are we going? And also on the chat, are you guys going to be getting a PS5, or do you even want to get a PS5? That's something that I'm kind of debating myself. Like, there's no games as such except for what's just been announced, so I'm still kind of like agnostic to the PlayStation 5. What do we think?
I think there's plenty of games. Like, they had that game showcase there about a month ago, and I thought there was actually a fair handful of ones that, while not maybe pure first party, as far as next gen goes, were very solid. Like, I'm sold on the Miles Morales party, man. Even if it is kind of a shorter version, I'm happy enough with that. The Ratchet and Clank game looks really, really fun. Now, I know that a lot of that was pre-rendered by the look of things, but if it looks half as good as what they showed off, I think that's good. And I'm all in for Resident Evil 8.
Okay. What about you, Bryn?
I will always advocate on the side of patience. So, for a number of reasons. First and foremost, historically, when consoles get released, they don't work. Or if they do work, they break down very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So you're better off waiting for, like, if you have to get it in the next calendar year, I'd wait a few months just to see what happens with the customer's experience thus far. Because, again, from what we're hearing as well, it's not like there's going to be a huge amount of high sellers right now because they're not going to be able to do much outside of make limited numbers because of the current climate that we live in.
Well, and here's the thing: what they're saying, to that point, what they're saying is, there's a form you have to fill in.
Yeah, for the privilege of pre-ordering. You have to get permission to pre-order.
It's the most dystopian thing ever. It's like, please beg this mega corporation.
Real strange.
It's very strange. It's like,
you have to prove that you are a loyal Sony fan. Basically, like, here, look at all the money I've given Sony in the past. Now let me give you 500 more euro.
Yeah,
it's not even like to win something. It's like so you can buy the console. I'm like, you know what? I want the Dreamcast. You make that.
No, when did this happen? I definitely, if I am to get it, I'm definitely going to hang on for the year.
Kev, what are you looking for? Like, what what is this next generation for you? Like, as a fan, what are you hoping for?
I mean, I think the big jump in this generation is obviously the jump to solid state.
Right.
That's kind of the big selling point on this now. And even as far back as when like the rumors of these consoles were going, and they had like modded a solid state drive to show the load times in the PS4 Spider-Man game. Like that's the key reaction right now, is just speeding things up to the point where load times become non-existent. And obviously PC is already there, but kind of having that sort of thing in a
over-the-counter product,
over-the-counter kind of console. Like I'm not PC Master Race. I don't have the time or money to be replacing parts every year to kind of keep up with the current meta. I used to kind of be more on that side, but I actually really enjoy kind of just popping up the PS4 and just playing games. That's it. There's a kind of a psychology of it as well, like where turning on the PlayStation or turning on the Switch, that's game time. Like it's that separation. Whereas I think a lot of people that like would play on computers, especially if like you two guys, like you work on computers, so like that's oh look, I'm going from the good screen to the bad screen.
If anything has pushed me further towards console usage, it definitely is spending most of my time in front of a computer.
Absolutely, I know, and
I never thought about that actually, but that's
same. I never understood, and I heard people who would kind of be the same. They're like, "Oh, I hate computers." No, I'm not that far.
No,
I don't hate. Still love computers, but I definitely, when I want to play a game, I'm more like, "All right, let's just."
No, you need to detach yourself and go somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. And it's more that kind of like chill out, where like, okay, no one can message me, no one can ask me to do something on this. I know they can message you, but it's not. You're not going to get a Slack message. You know what I mean?
What I would say though is I find like at the moment I have a PS4, Switch, and computer, and I game on all three of them. But what I game with each of them is wildly different. Like if I like the computer I have, it doesn't have the best specs in it, so that limits what I can play in terms of hardware usage. So it tends to be what I tend to play are more older, or tend to be games that are a bit older. So it'll be stuff that like from like the PS3 era that I would have missed out on. I'd be more likely to pick them up and play on my computer.
Yeah.
Whereas anything that's going to be much more and that's going to be modern and of a certain type of game, like the likes of like I feel like I made a mistake getting Doom on the Switch because I only really play it in the static mode because I find that it's really uncomfortable to play it for extended periods of time in handheld on Switch.
Yeah,
and I kind of wish I got it on PS4. But then I find
is it the new Doom? Is it?
No, I'm talking about Doom 2016.
Why don't you? It's like €4.
But I already have it. So
I would just buy it again.
I mean that's something that I probably will do. I just didn't see that it was €4. So
it's always really, really cheap, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've always seen it for more expensive than I'm willing to pay for it. But anyway, the point is that then there's games like Dead Cells. I wanted specifically to get for the Switch, and I love playing on the Switch because I can basically do one run, die, and then go, well, I'm done for now, and then put it away for a bit. I think it's all about that logical thing you have in your head where you're like, this is what I want to get out of the console, and I think there's more of an expectation on the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 kind of stuff to deliver a specific experience, which is why the Xbox One failed, because it didn't have that kind of separation game experience and such. The Xbox One failed for a litany of reasons, but its launch is a major one.
Yeah,
I remember specifically hanging out with some friends, and we all kind of made a thing out of the Xbox One launch because we were all Xbox 360 fanboys, And I've never been in a room, with the exception of probably the Royal Rumble 2011 to 2017, of just disappointing, disappointment, and being like, Krusty and the Simpsons
Oh,
gone.
man.
What the hell was that? That was just the reaction to everybody in the room.
I know people who legit stopped gaming because the Xbox One
Oh wow,
was such a
I don't
betrayal.
blame them. I don't blame them.
It just put people off.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is funny, actually, because in saying all this time around, I've actually been like, I think I know I'm going to get a PS5 at some point, be it like in the next year or a year or two down the line, for kind of the exclusives, because I'm a loyalist. But I have been very intrigued by the announcement Microsoft made last night of these. God, these also the worst names, but the Series S, the small one, because it's $299, which is a very reasonable price point. It's digital only, and it only runs 1080. It doesn't go up to 4K, which is fine by me. I don't have a 4K monitor, so it just would mean nothing to me. And then the big thing that Xbox has just pushed now is Game Pass. And I've been here, like, I don't have an Xbox, so like I've just been hearing about this since
Game Pass is supposed to be amazing. So,
but like, it's literally every time I hear about it, it's like, oh, here's 20 more games that have come out in the past year that you're getting for 15 quid a month, and it's like, if it's at least kind of catching up on a backlog, it might not be. And again, like, they've got first party Microsoft stuff, but they've not always been the strongest things coming out. But it's even like this, like the recent third party releases that'll be on this, like the likes of DUNE and that. And it just seems like such a steal. Of anything of this new generation.
But they have that on the PlayStation now as well, right? Where
PlayStation now just doesn't seem like it has either the library or it just seems convoluted, honestly. I think that works on streaming, whereas Game Pass is is a file download. Yeah.
Oh, I get.
Like I think now is a stream, and you need to have a stable internet connection, which I just don't. Whereas Game Pass is the ability to download just from a library.
Right. Well, yeah, I suppose it is kind of like how the PlayStation Plus works, where you get a bunch of games, and but it's more advanced, I suppose. On top of
it's a sheer volume on top. Like where PlayStation Plus, you get like the 2 months, and you can only get it in those 2 months or in that month. The two games, 1 month.
The thing I find really interesting about this, though, as well, is that like this is like I do think that this idea of what Game Pass is and what you get out of Game Pass is like. I think it's like yet another time where Microsoft, in terms of like how web services are done, are leading the pack, where they did it with Xbox Live with the first Xbox, where that just like broke new ground on gameplay.
Which is coming back, by the way. It's just been announced that that's actually coming back. The OG PlayStation, Xbox Live. It's coming back now as the service. People are bringing back servers up, so it's kind of.
But it's this is the thing, though, is that like that was like a revelation in it, and like Game Pass, I think, is pretty much like the, if you're not doing Game Pass, that's what you should be doing, because that's where the customer satisfaction is, and where customer satisfaction goes is where money goes.
It's taking the Netflix model and actually finally finding a way to retrofit it to video games. Yeah,
because
to be fair, like here's the thing, right? Sorry, just to jump in there, like the actual Netflix model fits really well in video games, because for the longest time, particularly in our generation, up until like relatively recently, let's be honest, you couldn't go out and buy games. You rented games from video stores, and that was just the way it works. So this is kind of a similar thing where you're paying $15 on top of it a month, but you're essentially renting these games. Now, the argument that I just would make on this is, while it's a great service to offer, I would not like games to go to solely a rent model. Like, obviously, still buy the games. I would like.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's part of the market. It's like a lot of the kind of the third party stuff tends to be at least a year old. Now, Microsoft are really pushing their first party stuff as part of it. I think that's the selling point of Game Pass. Like a selling point is that like the likes of like the new Halo and the new Gears of War, there, day one, you get them with Game Pass. But like a lot of third party stuff, it's recent, but it's not brand new. So if you want that game day one, you still have to chuck the 60, 70 quid down to get it.
But you actually save money if you're patient.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
which is
that's kind of how it is now. Like you give it a year, the games are 20 quid.
Yeah,
like it's
like that's everywhere except for specific
GameStop.
games on Steam.
And Nintendo.
Yeah,
or even GameStop as well. GameStop still.
Stop, man.
They're just a bad business. So.
Yeah. How is Grand Theft Auto 5 brand new still over €50?
People are still buying it.
Like, but it just makes no, like, it's one of those things where, like,
because it is now going to be a launch title for the brand new console generation. It's just never ending. Like,
and Skyrim probably will be as well.
They might as well.
Why not?
I mean,
just release it again and again. Okay, just keep buying it.
It'll come with it. Like it'll have to do a bit of digging, but it'll be in there. Don't worry, Todd's found a way.
Sure, you can play Skyrim on an Echo now, so of course you can do it.
Oh God, no, it wasn't Skyrim. I was listening to a podcast earlier, and somebody managed to program Doom, like OG Doom,
on a pregnancy test. Yeah, I saw that.
That's good.
Yeah. Immediately thought Dara when I saw that, because that's like one thing Dara's been obsessed with for.
That's true. For many years.
Like,
being able to run Doom on anything.
Yeah, you might as well like go into your tangent about what you do if you ever hacked anything, Dara, and how they could crack it.
Yeah, but now I give it away, so
Yeah, but it's funny, so say it, because you're not going to do it.
Okay, so if anyone does do this, it wasn't me. But here's my idea. Obviously, theoretically, for educational purposes. So what you do is you would obviously launch some kind of ransomware, and then the only way to get your decryptor key would be to beat Doom on nightmare mode several times. And I just think it'd be really funny to see loads of suits trying to play OG Doom, panicked. All their stuff is about to be deleted.
You could
be
make
hilarious. It'd be the funniest thing ever.
They have to do it on a single playthrough without dying.
Oh, that's really good.
Because that's better than like not, because like I'm sure if someone really grinded, they could beat nightmare mode a number of times, like X amount of times.
Right.
But it'd be a lot harder to do it without dying.
That's brilliant. Just
drop you in there. Do it.
Yeah.
It's just like, go for it. You better get good. Get good, son. You know?
Get good.
Get good. Although it's funny, because if something like that happened, it would open up a whole new kind of realm where they just hire like a pro gamer to break crypt loggers.
It's like a Black Mirror episode is what it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just like, because money's great and all, but it's not entertaining. But something like that would be hilarious. It's like, well,
just imagine like if something like like a major government institution just publicly was like known they had to beat nightmare mode.
Well, here's the thing, right? So Maynooth University in Ireland was hacked recently, and they paid the ransomware, which is like, which it says a lot, To be fair, they build some great stuff, but they don't build doors for their stuff, and this is case in point. Imagine if like it came out and it was like Maynooth University had to beat nightmare mode in Doom to unlock their ransomware.
That is like, oh God, that's the most like 1990s like tech horror movie.
It absolutely is. It's so good.
That's absolutely something you'd find just in the dark depths of Shudder.
Oh man,
it's so good. Just no one thinks big, and that's the thing. So if anyone does that, that's fantastic. Well done. And John Romero would probably be like, what have I done? What have I unleashed? Carmine.
To be honest, I think he'd be more like, oh, what a world.
Yeah, what a world. Oh, it's so funny.
Hey, why don't you do it with Daikatana though?
To be fair, I don't really mind Daikatana.
I've never played it.
It's okay. It's not as bad as people make it out to be.
It's only because they love his work before it so much.
Yeah,
that they don't like it.
To be fair, like Ion Storm make Deus Ex, so it's like, make all the shit they want. You make Deus Ex, Anyway, so look, there's a couple of things that I want to talk about this week. I mean, if there's any cool updates from the PlayStation 5. We will
reporting to the field. It's been pretty mediocre so far, to be honest. They've, awesome. There's Call of Duty. That's that. There's apparently a Harry Potter game, so not buying that because butts to her. And Spider-Man, and apparently there is not a Resident Evil, which we already know about, but I'm excited.
Yeah.
That's all, Ken.
Good stuff.
And I just dropped my donut.
Just dropped your donut. For God's sake.
So I was interrupted by the new puppy we have.
Yeah.
Which is great. She's a border collie called Poppy. And yeah, she makes life worth living. So it's
as
great.
do all dogs.
She is this small. She is this small.
Aww.
And now this big. And eventually she's gonna be a monster. So it's great. But yeah, so Poppy is the
You
best
will
thing.
hug her, but don't they? She will hug you.
See, here's the thing. I have 2 other border collies as well. So they're like, what is this? And now eventually they're just like, actually you're cool. And now they kind of hang out. And it's hilarious. Like they're just like, we don't like you at all. And the cat still doesn't like them because she's like, yeah, no, go away from me. So
that's because she's a cat.
Yeah, but she loves the other dogs. That's the funny part. So it's just like, she's like, no, I've had my fill. 4 dogs is enough for any cat, I suppose. So
Another one of these morons.
Yeah, that's it. She's just like, I'm so fed up with this. Like, it's just, there's so many of them. And then there's a small one running after me, and she's like, no, I don't want to have this. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, look, Kev, you're our RT Roman reporter. That's your new job.
Congratulations, Kev.
Okay, I guess I'm just gonna go for a walk now.
Off we go. There's a cool new segment that Lisa is working on as well, guys, where it's she's gonna have a list of made up Pokemon and real Pokemon, and our job is to guess which one is real.
Oh, I love that.
My hope is that we just take up like Pokemon that are cooler than the actual Pokemon.
Oh, absolutely, because I'm just like, I don't know, it could be real. She's like, yeah, one's an ice cream and
there's one there's keys, there's one that's chandelier.
And I'm like, they're not even trying anymore. Like, they're just saying things.
800 of them.
Yeah.
It's like to be uninspired.
It's like Stephen King. It's like Stephen King and the new objects he tries to make scary. Oh, look, it's a lamp. It's a scary lamp.
I think a lamp. I think a lamp is a Pokemon. That's the thing. It's like look around, microphone, camera, laptop. Imagine a laptop Pokemon. Lappy.
It's a haunted Pokemon. Alarm clock.
Actually, something that's really cool. So when I was over in London before the end times,
the long ago.
There was actually like a cybersecurity museum, right? And they actually had, I shit you not, WannaCry, a laptop that has WannaCry in its hard drive in a case.
Oh wow!
Isn't that cool?
That's cool.
It's just like, yeah, it's like, and obviously it's off and it's disconnected from everything, but it's still just there. And I'm just like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And they have like the Turing's cryptography thing and all that kind of stuff, the Enigma machine. So yeah, that was pretty sweet. It was done by the Interpol, I think, did it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun. But anyway, man, I swear, if there's a laptop Pokemon, I'm just gonna be like, no, that better not be a thing.
I can't confirm that, but I can't deny it.
That's the thing. It's a very high possibility.
We will have to report with Lisa.
Exactly. Yeah. Lisa is our resident expert in Pokemon. Like, it just is what it is.
She's our Pokemon correspondent.
Everyone's just getting jobs handed out.
We're a news network, Dara. This is how it goes.
Yeah, so
you're an anchor now. You're welcome.
Oh, fair. Oh man. Yeah, so we'll be starting that when Lisa's back on the show. Obviously, Keen, Lisa, and Katie all had to tap out this week. Katie's done like a bunch of shows, but I'm just concerned. Like Kev, like in Easton's, I don't know what they're doing to you guys, but they're killing the staff of the show. Like, I just like, what's going on? Like, it's like
it consumes our lifeblood, and we're just left with husks. I've just learned to cope with it.
Yeah, that's why I'm just like, when you were saying you're coming show, I'm like, wow, Kev's like the alpha of the stuff.
I've been off for the past 3 days. Wednesdays are usually fine for me. I usually have Wednesdays off, so I'm usually fresh. You catch me on a Friday, nah.
Like poor Lisa and Keen, they're just like, I can't. I'm like, all right, man, fair enough. That's it.
Yeah, no, it
so
is.
Yeah, they will be back on the show when Easton's lets them to be.
Also, the fact that they are off recording dozens of their own shows.
This is true.
They make a ludicrous amount of content between themselves.
They're very busy. And here's the thing, Bryn, your show is done.
Yep, finally.
It's not posted yet, but it will be.
But it is done. Yeah,
it is done. So now we've moved from it not being done to it not being posted. So that's on my fault.
It's no longer my fault that people can't listen to it.
No, it's directly my fault. Boo, that man. Boo.
It's a show that has delays built into it its foundation.
Exactly, and they're not bugs or flaws. They're features.
Yeah.
Delays are features of the show.
You set this doll to delayed.
So
to make an obscure Looney Tunes reference, delays, nothing but delays.
So what I'm thinking of doing is obviously Monday is kind of free, except for when anime crash course is done.
Baby.
Yeah. Exactly. So things are going to be moved around there. I mean, I'm going to post that show probably tomorrow.
Sweet.
Or Friday, depending on if you're listening to this on Phoenix, it's already up. But depending on Keen's show, but I might just pop it up in the afternoon. Cool. And then we'll kind of set something a bit more going forward. Because the rewind is moving days because we're still trying to figure out because Dave has a different job now.
Yeah.
So guys, the best thing to do is keep an eye on the social media for updates. When they arrive, they'll be up there as well. And we have a lot more content coming up. But right, so at the time we have left, which is we have a fair amount of time left.
Yeah.
I fell down a rabbit hole this week, guys. Like
So
a
did I.
crazy rabbit hole. So I'm really excited about the movie Dune that's coming out at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never actually read Dune.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So my goal is to obviously read the book before the movie comes out, which may or may not happen.
That's a tall order.
It is.
Tall
So it may
order.
or may not happen. We'll see. I will do my best. But I am very, very familiar with the source material and the overall story. And now I get the South Park reference, Bryn.
Yeah. It's so good that
so good.
There's an episode from last season of South Park where it's the best episode in the season. If you like South Park and you haven't seen last season, if there's one episode you have to watch. It's an episode called "One for the Ladies," and it is amazing.
It's so good.
It is fantastic from top to bottom. To give you just a brief rundown.
He knows about the spice.
Yeah, to give you a brief rundown of what basically happens, Sheila, Kyle's mom, is in the best bit of health that she's had in forever.
Yep.
And she's getting compliments front, right, left, and center from everyone about how she looks and how confident she is and all that stuff. Turns out that she had a fecal transplant.
Yeah,
because they're basically transferring a microbiome from a healthy person into her body, and then it just allowed her to it allowed her to be healthier. So and there is something to that where there are people who where their microbiome just allows them to be in a situation where they can be more energetic and all that kind of stuff. So that's basically what the show is positing
through poop.
Yeah, but the poop bit is not real, but
the actual idea of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to the whole vampire thing where vampirism comes from.
So anyway, a bunch of her friends get jealous and they try to steal her poop. And and basically the show just descends into what I can only describe as far too many, but also at the same time just enough references to David Lynch's adaptation of Dune.
Yeah,
and I love every second of it, and it's very good. And saying any more than that would kind of lead to spoilers.
Okay.
But it's so very funny, especially if you enjoy David Lynch's version of Dune. Now, look, I'm not saying when I say enjoy, I mean that you put it on and you have a good time laughing at it. Now, I don't mean that you sit there going, "Oh, this is great acting and great character development."
Before Dara starts losing the plot, I would like to make clear to the room, I have no exposure to Dune at all. So I've never read the book and I've never seen the David Lynch film. Yeah. I only know Dune by cultural osmosis.
Yeah. Okay, so this is
I just throw it at me.
So this is where we're coming in because I think this is where everybody is, right?
This is pretty much where everyone is.
Yeah. Everyone knows Dune.
Yeah.
No one's read Dune, or very few people have read Dune.
The best way I would explain Dune in terms of
War and Peace.
Its relevant. Well, its relevance to sci-fi would be
Yeah.
that like it is to science fiction what Lord of the Rings is to fantasy.
Yeah, but people have read Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, people
That's
have.
what I hear. Like, people,
but it's a very apt description because,
Absolutely.
like Lord of the Rings, its prose is dense.
Yeah.
It's it's aggressively informational.
so here's the thing, right? So there's some great channels. I will do my best to link them below. There's some lad, and he's like super obsessed with Dune. And he's some American lad, and he's like, listen, here's all the Dune all the time, and he like knows everything about it. So everything I know about it, I've kind of just learned from him before digging into it deeper. So basically, the concept of Dune is it's based in our universe. It's our history.
It's like
in
the far-flung future.
And Dune is the planet that creates the spice, which basically
the spice-a-lange.
Spice-a-lange, exactly. So it's like the ultimate elixir. It has like
it's like space travel. It does everything.
Everything. Like long life, superpowers, consciousness, everything.
Yeah. So magic drugs. Got
it. Yeah.
Well, basically. I want you to hold on to that one.
Fuel.
I want you to really hold on to that one.
And fuel. Magic drugs and fuel.
Yeah. So basically, it's like it becomes kind of Game of Thronesy then, where the planet, the family, the house that owns or rules that planet, basically rules the world or the whole galaxy.
They ruled the galaxy. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's basically the setup of it, and then it kind of goes into it and it continues. Right now, here's where it gets interesting. Right. So I've been researching this to try and find the perfect version of Dune, right? Now it doesn't exist until the movie comes out, because that probably will be the perfect version of it. It's coming at the end of the year, and oh my god, I'm so excited. It looks fantastic. But Dune's cultural impact is spectacular, and here's why. So David Lynch's Dune, we will get to that in a second. Park that. There was a movie attempted in the 70s, right? By an experiment, like absolutely off the wall, crazy nutcase, who I really admire now, I must say. And basically, his name is Alexandro Jukwelski, and he is known for making these crazy movies. Watch what's it, Magic Mountain or Wizard Mountain? I need to watch it because I've only watched bits of it, and I'm just sitting there going, this is crazy. But basically, he was this director, and he wanted to make Dune, right? He never saw Dune, right? He never read Dune, right? he was told the plot of it and kind of made up his own version of it, but it's still pretty close. But there's a documentary called Joukowski's Dune, right? That's what it's called. You can find it. You can dig around. There's ways to find it. It's on Amazon Prime if you pay a couple of dollars for it. Watch it. It is one of the best documentaries I have ever seen. It is crazy. But here's what's interesting, right? This is the 70s. This is before Star Wars. This is before everything else. This is before Alien, before Blade Runner, all this kind of stuff. He put together a team. Basically, his idea was he wanted to make a holy movie, a movie that would change consciousness, change the world, become this thing bigger than people, right? Told you the guy's a nutcase, right? But all geniuses are. So here's who was going to be in the movie: Salvador Dali, Orson Welles, and Mick Jagger, right? That's who he wanted to be in the movie. Now, who did he get to do the look of everything? The visual effects guy behind 2001: A Space Odyssey and the first appearance of H.R. Geiger. All right, he discovered H.R. Geiger. Now, who did he want to get the music? Who did the music of Dune? Pink Floyd.
Oh,
okay.
Right?
Okay.
Oh wow.
I think like forgive my time. So this is like right off the heels of Dark Side, I'm assuming.
Yeah, literally.
Much,
that's why he was like, hey, he tells the story of going to meet them, and he's like, they were eating hamburgers, and I went over and I started insulting him. I said, I'm willing to give you the best movie of all time. How dare you eat hamburgers? And then they said, all right, come on, we'll talk. And I'm like, what a hero. So yeah, like But yeah, like basic, and then there's also the visual effects guy. He got this French artist to actually storyboard everything. So there's this big book about this big. Only 2 copies of it exist in the world, right? Where it's all these stories. It's like 7,000 drawings, and it's how we would shoot the movie. It's unbelievable, right? And the director of Drive is there, and he's like, "Oh, I've seen Dune, or I've seen that version of Dune." And like, "What do you mean you've seen that version of Dune? I didn't realize you made it." And he's like, "Yeah, watch this." And then he tells the story of going in and watching this, like basically living this version of Dune, and it's that's how it starts. And he's like, "This is the greatest movie never made." And I'm on that boat. I'm like, man, I wish I could see this movie. You know, it's very, very hard to comprehend how good this movie is, and also
I think like it's fascinating that probably the least interesting part of this is that it was a 70s Dune adaptation.
It gets better, right? So obviously it didn't happen because everyone was like, they were only like what 5 or 10 million short of the budget. But like Orson Welles was going to be in this, and how they got Orson Welles to do it was they went into a French garisto bar, and he said, "Look, I'll hire this chef, and you can eat like you're here all the time." And he goes, "Okay, I'll do it." You're like, "What? This is madness!"
Just making wild promises to Orson Welles.
No, the best one is Dali, where he's like, "I'll give you a flaming giraffe." That's what he wanted, and he goes, "Okay, fine, you'll get the flaming giraffe." He goes, "All right, I'll do it." So, like now how we got, and we're not endorsing drugs obviously, but how we got Dan O'Brien, who was the guy behind 2001 Space Odyssey and a bunch of other movies. He also wrote the script for Alien. He basically slipped him LSD and then told him the story, and now he's like, oh, okay, I know what to do. And it was just what is this crazy? So basically, right, so the movie didn't get made, right? But the script is still there. Here's what's interesting. This movie, or the pictures behind it, the people behind it, they went on to define sci-fi. Blade Runner, Alien, Star Wars, all exist because this movie didn't happen.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
That's mad. But
he basically put together this team.
In a weird way, though,
define sci-fi.
In a weird way, though, it kind of the swings and roundabouts to it too, because and I'm blanking his name now. The guy who ended up directing Dune,
Villeneuve or
David Lynch.
David Lynch. The reason, like, David Lynch had a choice between doing 2 films, Return of the Jedi and doing Dune, and he chose to do Dune.
Yeah,
and it's just been interesting that, like, without the 70s version of Dune happening, Star Wars happening. And it's interesting that he was given, like, that Lynch was given a choice between doing a sure thing hit or doing his own thing, and he chose to do his own thing because he's David.
Now here's the heartbreaking part, and where I really start feeling it for Tarkovsky. He was like, when I heard David Lynch was going to do it, I start crying because I'm like, David Lynch is a genius. And then I went to go see it, and my sons made me go see it, and then I was so happy because it was terrible. I'm like, oh, man. But he finished the movie. He finished the movie by, and the worst. Here's the thing, right? He made his son train 2 years to be this part. Basically, one of the main heroes
to be Paul.
Paul, yeah, one of the main heroes is like, that's what it. So he goes, right, my son is basically Paul, and he put him through this intense physical training to be like, because he wanted all the characters to actually be their characters.
Yeah.
And he changed the ending and stuff like that. But he goes, look, if someone wants to make my movie, living or dead, I want them to do that. So, but it's cool because, like, the new Dune looks like it's taking elements from kind of everywhere. And also, as we said, like, the fingerprints of this version of Dune kind of
are living in it.
Yeah, it is sci-fi. Like, our whole understanding of the genre literally comes from this. Yeah. If you look at the actual original art book, you see it in movies. Not only Geiger's work in Prometheus and Alien and stuff, but then even there's specific shots in the movie. Like, his version of Dune is the first time you see a HUD display ever. Terminator, right? Yeah. But anyway, so getting to the David Lynch version of Dune, the reason why that is a train wreck is because the movie studios didn't understand that it needs to be 2 movies, so they hacked it to bits many times. Midnight's Edge actually did a great video on it. So fair play to Midnight's Edge. If you're not subscribed to Midnight's Edge, subscribe to Midnight Edge now. And they did the whole thing on it. I'll link it below. Basically, this put me on my quest. So this has been my own holy quest this week, to find a good version of Dune. So this takes us to the totally non-supported. We don't suggest this. Buy all the movies, and then go looking for what we're going to talk about next. Fan edits. So obviously, if you're going to go look for this, buy a copy of David Lynch's Dune, and then go off and look for your fan edits. All right. But there is a fan edit of Dune. And
there's several fan edits of Dune.
Yes, but there is one definitive version, which takes the 40 hours of footage shot for Dune and condenses it into a 2.5-hour movie. All right.
Wait, is the raw footage for Lynch's Dune available? Like,
no, they went looking for it. It was re-released and remastered and re-released and remastered and leaked. That they just ended up before all the 40 hours of it somehow.
Jeez. Okay.
Right, yeah. So that's what they've done, and it's Dune: The Alternative Cut Redux, and that's what it's called. And look, you can find it. It's out there. It's very easy to find, right? And it's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, fan edits in general. Fan edits in general. If you're interested, there are loads to look for.
One that I found this week that I will have to recommend as well, Bryn, before you jump in: The Matrix Revolutions Decoded. A guy took The Matrix Revolutions, The Matrix Reloaded, bits from the Animatrix, and The Matrix and Enter the Matrix, and cut them together.
Oh, cool!
It's such a better movie.
Wait, bits from the PS2 game Enter the Matrix.
Yeah, but no way, because
it has FMV.
FMV.
Yeah,
so,
vaguely. Yeah, that's a throwback for me. Sorry.
Yeah, so they actually cut them all in, and it actually tells a phenomenally good story. It's so coherent, and it's really enjoyable. Now they cut out big chunks, and you can actually kind of guess what they cut. Changes the ending a little bit, but it works way better. And I think fan edits, lads, like if you haven't dug into them, What Culture have an article, the best fan edits of all time. I will link that below as well.
The big thing with fan edits is that, like, that was one of the main reasons, one of the main things that made me go, I am not good enough to edit professionally, was looking at fan edits. Because, like, when you're seeing people, like, as a hobby do better edit jobs than you can do, you're like, okay, this isn't a profession for me.
But see, what I would say on that point is, this is years in the make. You know, these lads obviously compiled stuff. Topher Grace actually did my favorite version of Star Wars, the guy from the 70s show, where he cut all the Star Wars prequels into one fantastic movie.
Yeah, there's actually there's a prequel trilogy that I recommend more than Topher Grace's.
The Phantom Edit.
No, not his Phantom Edit. I can't remember what the renamed titles were, but they were done by, the screen name was HAL 9000, and they're brilliant. Especially his episode 1 is really, really good. Where basically, like, the majority of what was cut was like stuff in the first one was stuff with Jar Jar.
Right.
And like, there's so much Jar Jar, it's like, well, how, and he's integral to the plot. What do you cut with him? Like, and basically what they cut with him was they kind of just made him seem like, not so much that he was bumbling, but more that he was like a fish out of water when it came to him being on Tatooine, and that, like, you know, when he was in the battle scene, they cut out him being bumbling and just made him into vaguely uncomfortable with it. So like that, like, so he quickly surrenders. Yeah. So like he quickly surrenders and that kind of stuff, because he doesn't really know what he's doing, you know. And like it was interesting because, like, for episode 2 and episode 3, he actually added in some deleted scenes because he felt like they actually made more sense in the way that he had edited them, and it do like it, the films overall tend to flow a lot better. There's less focus on clunky dialogue, especially in episode 2. But it's very, I mean, when you have actors who aren't comfortable saying their lines, it's difficult to.
It's hard. But see, we talked about this as well, that Star Wars itself was kind of saved in the edit.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, like the original Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I've seen the original cut or what's available.
Grim, isn't it?
It's very grim. It's actually horrific. And it's, there is something that we kind of forget how good editors actually are.
Yeah.
And
it's an unseen art one. Like, I mean,
look, here's the thing though. Like, it's even like Kev, you'll appreciate this. Yeah. There's 2 Metallica albums that I actually listen to as fan edits over the original. That's Injustice for All and Saint Anger, because I'm like, there's great material there. It's just kind of lost in the mix.
Oh man, Saint Anger could have been a fantastic album.
There's a re-recording of it where it just records Lars's drums, and the album is so much better for it.
But honestly, I'm not even that hung up on the drum sound. It's the fact that it just overpowers. I'm okay with the tinny sound. It just overpowers it, and then just kind of edit down the song slightly.
Yeah. Every
unmuddy the whole tone.
Yeah.
2015, 2 lads did a full edit of it, and it's actually phenomenal. And that's the version I listened to.
I would say bar 3 songs in Saint Anger, every song is about 2 minutes too long.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like, there's a case to be made that, like, I think the band themselves realize that they're just there is slightly restructuring some of these songs make them fantastic. Like, I went to, like, when I saw them in Slane there last year, they played Frantic. They cut a verse out, they added a guitar solo, and it was incredible.
See, that's the thing. Like, I've always said that, Saint Anger has those great songs, and Justice for All benefits so much from an audible bass. Yeah. And it's just like, and it's a similar kind of thing with these movies. It's like, people give out about the Matrix sequels a lot.
Yeah.
And I just don't find that warranted. I'm like, look, this was screwed with by the studio. And all these movies that we talked about, Dune, The Matrix, Star Wars is a bit of an exception because George Lucas is George Lucas. But like modern Star Wars, like the what's that train wreck called? Help me, you guys. The last one. Rise of Skywalker.
9.
Rise, that was done with studio meddling, and it ruins the movie. Absolutely ruins these movies. So there are actual competent movies.
Look at what happened to The Hobbit. Because
absolutely, that's also another fan edit that's out there, and it's great.
DC, like, again, time will only tell now what's going to happen with the Snyder Cut, but you can clearly see where things were just added post.
Fantastic Four,
quickly.
Fantastic Four, yeah, exactly. And that's it, and that's why I'm kind of like, they should just release these movies.
Yeah.
You don't realize what a good edit looks like until you've just seen a terrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I would say, do yourself a favor, guys. There are ways to find these. Google is your friend. Buy the movies and then have a look around.
Yeah.
Because you've supported it. And I would say, listen, if I was running a movie studio, I'd be like, hey, I'm going to buy this. I'm going to hire you to make this, upscale it, and release it on Blu-ray. I'd buy it. I'd buy it in the morning.
This is a thing that's happened a lot with digital media, and this is kind of, I'm going to use this as a segue to talk about a topic I wanted to bring up.
Absolutely.
But, like, this is something that happens with a lot of digital media in general, is that now, like, we've hit this weird point where, because of decisions that were made by a certain decisions and actions that were made by a certain media conglomerate that has a mascot of a type of rodent, the extension that's been made, the extensions made to copyright has exceeded all sense of reason, because we now live in a world where it's like, copyright used to be straight up from the point that it's published, 50 years, and then it's public domain. Now we live in a world where it's 50 years after the author has died. And that is such a critical distinction. And we're already seeing ramifications of this, because we now live in a world where there is media that was created in, and like granted, it would still not be public domain, but it'd be well on its way by now. We've got products that were made in the mid 90s that can't be sold because the license is expired, and there's no money to be made off of it because they legally cannot make money off of it. No one can make money off of it, but it's illegal to acquire it. And this is the thing that's called abandonware, and it's an interesting thing because like like if you were around the same age as me, you remember having a Sega Mega Drive, or as Americans would call it, the Sega Genesis, and you remember playing licensed games like Aladdin
Absolutely.
or The
Yep.
Lion King, or
Yep.
again, any other
Core pillar games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these were great games, but legally they cannot, legally these games cannot be sold anymore. Not even because they're not and it's not even because the
studio or the license holder is refusing it.
No, but you see, this is the critical thing, though, is that like because so like they were Disney properties and they licensed them to video game companies to make games for them, but those licenses expired. So, and in some cases, those companies don't exist
They're
anymore.
gone. Yeah,
Yeah.
like Virgin Games aren't a thing anymore, guys.
Gone.
And they made the games of our generation, of our childhood.
A lot of them, and they're gone,
great ones.
straight up gone. And we're left, but like, I mean, it's a thing where like you have people who, for the purposes of archival, have these games hosted, but legally, you can't really do anything with it because.
Well, this is how Nintendo did. This is Nintendo's fault. They came in.
This is like blaming this on Nintendo is overly simplistic when it's technically copyright law that existed before Nintendo made.
I know.
It's bigger than they are guilty of it, but it's bigger than
they're
them.
guilty of being the parties who acted upon it.
They're the Metallica in this situation, and Napster are the.
So like, but even then, like
Nintendo's the Lars Ulrich in this situation.
Even if we're going with that as being the thing, what's important to make a distinction here is Nintendo were defending products they technically own. So we're not talking about it being a license issue.
Right.
Because they're still the publisher, and you could argue that they are the distributor.
Well, okay. Well, what's the solution in this then? Like, it's it's difficult because
like everything with digital media, it's what's needed here is a revisiting first of all of what copyright is in a digital age.
But laws are very late to this game, man. That's
totally. But this has been. Legality when it comes to digital media and when it comes to the internet and when it comes to gaming are all way behind. But that's very much where we're at. But so like there's several things here because there's several things to unpack here. One is, what does copyright mean in a digital age? What does how is aged digital media affected? How is it affected, and how is it consumed by consumers now? And if the answer to those things is piracy, then it means that there still is some kind of demand for it. And if there is a demand for it, why is there no market serving it? Because currently, when it comes to these kind of things, we go, well, the only thing that is serving it is piracy. And
well, like
we're not advocating again.
Like,
we're not
how can you like? What does a copyright law mean to a piece of media that, for all intents and purposes, cannot be consumed in this era? For the likes of a Sega Mega Drive, the Mega Drive is no longer in production. No. The games that are for the Mega Drive no longer in production. Yeah. So, like, what does a copyright law mean to this thing?
Yeah.
That is no longer in production.
Absolutely, and that's the question here, and I mean, again, like, it's one of those things where you have to say, well, it's not possible it shouldn't be expected that a license holder or a publisher, whomever, should be able to host these games. In terms of a cost benefit analysis, it just shouldn't be reasonable expectation. And you would say, absolutely, that is a completely fair point. But how about this? If it's not possible, if it's not something that you intend on making money from still, how about that you do? How about every company, every digital media company contributes to a public
open
to
source repo,
to basically a public archive.
Yeah,
like
because
very like what we talked about last week with that YouTube channel with all of the major anime streaming houses. Like
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
this feels like what they could do. This opens the door if they because a lot of like actually even gonna use what Unity do with their engine.
Yeah.
They just make it open source. Once you don't make money off it, they don't care. Like that would be cool if you just have a repo somewhere where you can just go in and get these games.
Like if it was added to GitHub.
Yeah, just GitHub them even, and just
just a digital library.
Yeah, like I think even having something where the source code is available is an interesting idea, because then you can say it's for educational purposes. It's for educational and historical purposes, because then you can say this is how the thing was made
and how it works, and
this is the final product of how it was done. So now you can learn how to program.
And here is its relevance in the history of the media.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's something that you don't even get with films. Like you don't even get that with films. And that I would argue something like that should exist with films. But then again, I would also argue that every film should be making a documentary like Peter Jackson made for his Lord of the Rings film, making of films. And they should be doing the same thing, because I think I would eat up those documentaries all day.
And I think that is something that is difficult to because all these people see are profits as well. They don't really see that relevance, and until video games are kind of recognized as that kind of thing.
But something on that though. Let's not pretend that every business isn't obsessed with profits right now.
Absolutely, that's the whole point of businesses.
And you'd say that is the whole point. It's but there's this whole community need that has been taken out of work. That isn't present anymore, and it really needs to be. You're not just like providing a service to people. You're also providing a service. You're also providing something to your local communities.
Well, look, Brent, we've seen that in the tech field, where open source companies will build their reputation on that community, where some guys will build stuff to bring forward. That's how Linux works. And then there's companies that take that, go closed source, and kill their business or kill their user base. So you can see that in real time, and we are running short on time here as well. But I'm going to give you the final word on this.
What I would say is that it's not about it being closed source. It's not about it being open source. It's about at the end of the day, if you're making something that has a significance that extends to being culturally significant, you have an onus to make sure that's being archived. Because
I agree.
I would say that I would say that when it comes to when we're talking about sci-fi, there's pretty much two books that are to me, they're the cornerstone of what modern sci-fi is comprised of. The first one is John Carter. Without that, there's barely anything else, because there's just so much legacy from it. And then the other one is Dune. Yeah. And without them, there's so much lost. But you have to have them. And if they weren't archived, we wouldn't be talking about them. That's
true. And that's important. It's important, guys. A lot to think about. We will come back to it. I like that topic, Bryn.
Yeah.
Bring it back probably next week. Do a bit more research on it, and then we'll kind of pick it up from there. We have to wrap it up here, guys, here on Phoenix 92.5 FM. Bryn, anything you want to plug before we wrap up? Obviously, you have your show.
I have my show,
some
Tech
details.
Takeover. So we said that's coming out. That episode should be coming out this week. So that should be on our feed by the time people on Phoenix 92.5 FM are listening to it. The next episode that I'm currently writing at the moment is on web browsers. And then the only other thing I want to plug is keep hashtag Save Venture Brothers going, guys, because it would be great to see that show stay around. There is a monthly event planned on Twitter. You can find all the details for that at the Twitter handle at Venture Month. If you want to talk to me about Venture Brothers, you want to talk to me about Tech Takeover, you can find me on Twitter at CastBrainCast. I got rid of the underscores this time, so it's just capital C, capital B, capital C for CastBrainCast. So, yep, that's it for me this week.
And Kev?
Well, you can always find me over on the network on Anime Crash Course. Our episode of Steins Gate's been up for a couple of weeks. Really, again, considering I was not completely mentally there during that episode, but had just sheer exhaustion, I'm delighted with how that episode turned out with me and Kean. So I'd love if you can check that out, or if you just want more of my random thoughts, you can follow me over at on Twitter at KevTalica94.
Cool. And guys, remember, nerdtoknowmedia.com is where you can find all of our stuff, links to everything. Join the channel. If you're watching this, please subscribe, hit the bell. That would really help us out a great deal. We have a show pretty much every single day. So for all listeners on Phoenix 92.5 FM, get over to Nerd to Know Media and check out the show. And we'll be back same time next week here on Nerd to Know Media, Nerd to Know Basis. Bye, guys.
Bye.